So I just turned 35 last week. Well, actually, I'm actually recording this video the day before my birthday, so I wanted to put something out here, and it's amazing how time really flies by, and when you get to 35 years of living on this planet, there's just so much more to discover about yourself and to learn and grow as an individual and so forth. So I wanted to kind of go over something that I did earlier today and then go over 5 things that I would like to do in the next 5 years prior to me turning the big 40. So earlier today, I actually wrote a future letter to myself 5 years from now. So as I'm recording this video, it is August 12th, 2026. And I wrote this to my future self 5 years from today on August 12th, 2031. And I have done something like this before in the past. When I was in high school, I took a class on sociology, and I could just remember the sociology teacher, my teacher at the time, had us do a little exercise where we wrote a letter to our future selves. And it was quite interesting because what she was going to do is once we write those letters, or once we wrote them in class, that I think 3 or 5 years later, that she was gonna mail them to out to us. But it was quite interesting because I remember getting that letter a couple years later, and I was like, "Wow, I can't believe I wrote that, and how much I've changed over time, and so forth." But I actually did the same thing earlier today, where I wrote a letter to myself, 5 years from now, and I won't go into too much depth into it, but I wrote about like some guidance that I was giving to my future self at 40 years old. Because there's a lot that I've learned about myself in the last 2 years. And excuse the coughing, I'm a little bit under the weather, but it ain't going to stop me from doing a video. So just bear with me. But I wrote to myself just some things to keep in mind of, and, just things to really make note of. So I talk about things from business to wealth to health and just happiness and overall. And it was a very moving letter that I wrote to myself. And it got a little bit emotional at times because I told myself that, hey, where you're at right now in life is a result of the decisions that you made early on. And I mean, no one else but myself is responsible for where I'm at right now. And I take full accountability and responsibility for that. And so, as I do this, or as I wrote that letter, I was just reminded of the mistakes that I made and just some of the things I want to keep in mind of as I go forward, and to make, not to reflect on my mistakes as a way to uh, be regretful, but take them as a learning experience. Someone who I really look up to dearly and who has had a great impact on my life has said a couple times that he does not have regret for the decisions that he made. But overall, they were just learning experiences. And so there ain't no such thing as regret. And so that's what I wrote about in today's letter. And what I'm going to do with it, since I wrote it out, because I spent about a good 2 hours writing that, and it's about 10 pages long. So when I get home in a little bit, I'm going to seal it in a closed envelope, and I'm going to write a note saying, do not open this letter until August 12th, 2031, 5 years from now. And why am I going to wait 5 years from now? Well, two reasons. One, I want to see how bad my writing is and just see how much I've changed since then. But number two, and more importantly, it's also to just indicate to me that, or give me in this like focused mindset that I want to start focusing in these next 5 years on what I want to accomplish because I have big ambitions and goals to do very well in the next 5 years. And as I wrote in that letter, I wrote in there saying that I feel more confident than ever, no matter what the circumstances are at right now, what's up against me, because I got a lot going on right now in life. I mentioned that I'm about to lose my job next year. I am going through uh, reevaluating my relationships with others, personal and professionally. I am looking at other options right now about what I want to do and so forth. And even right now, with all the craziness going on around the world, whether that's the stock market, that's current events, or it's the weather, all this stuff that I have no control over, this is all a lot of stuff that I'm dealing with. Some of it I can control, while others, like the weather or current events, I don't have any control over. And so I just want to see that it puts me in a better focus and more clarity in the next 5 years of what I want to accomplish because I truly am more optimistic and more confident than ever that I'm going to be so much better off 5 years from now. And I know I'm going through some struggles, but I also know I have better days ahead of me. And this is not to be wishy-washy or to be positive and all that. I mean, this is not toxic positivity. This is not me saying, "Oh, just be positive." You know, don't lecture me on this positive woo-woo stuff. Because you can't just say be positive. You have to do the things. You have to take action to build the life that you want. So, but those are the reasons why I wrote that letter, and it'll be interesting to read 5 years from now because I truly believe that I could very well be in a much better situation than I am right now. So we'll see how that goes. Now, on to the next segment of this video. I just had my birthday last week. I turned 35 years old, so I'm going to list the 5 things that I like to do before I hit 40 in 5 years. The first one is to either get a Tesla or take advantage of the robo taxi that will be coming out. Now, what I like about Tesla is the fact that they are the leader in autonomous driving. They are a technology and innovation play, and I truly believe that with their full self-driving model, they're going to dominate uh, the industry, and they are going to be the leader or they are the leader in autonomous driving. And I don't care what their competitors are doing. I know there are other competitors out there as well, but I feel like Tesla is number one when it comes to like the technology, and I mean they're doing so many great things. Now, this is not a don't get me wrong, this video is not sponsored by Tesla. I am not getting paid to endorse Tesla. I just personally believe that Tesla, they're a big technology and innovation play, and they truly are the next Apple. They are a multi-trillion-dollar company in the making, and we are going to see probably hundreds of new sectors and industries, or probably new businesses in the sectors we see today that are going to create so many opportunities and new jobs in the next decade. I mean, they truly are a big play, and if you're in the investing space, you might as well invest in Tesla. But that's all I'll say on Tesla. I'm not getting paid by Tesla. I'm not recommending you invest in Tesla. These are just my opinions. So be careful. But I just want to throw out that disclaimer. The second one is to work on my relationships. And this is, like I said earlier, my personal and professional relationships. I've been through a lot over the last year with personal relationships. I even got out of a really close relationship that was difficult, but that's where I'm at. And, even talking about it can be hard as well. And something that I'm, I've reflected on and I've really moved on from it because I'm not really looking to be in a relationship anytime soon, but I want to learn how to, build even not romantic relationships, but just better relationships with other people, personally and professionally. So, and I've definitely gotten better, especially with the people who I work with, and I want to build better relationships with my family as well. I have a real good relationship with my parents. I think it's pretty mutual, but I know I can improve on it as well. So, relationships, definitely another thing. Maybe not romantic, or maybe I don't want to have a partner, but just relationships in general. The third one is to travel. Now that I look back on it, I really wish this was something I would have started earlier when I was in my 20s. I mean, the opportunity to get to travel around the world and just see how other countries work and what cultures, learn different cultures, it really is something that you can take advantage of. And that's something I'm going to be looking in the next couple of years. But it'll be interesting and we'll see. And that leads me to the fourth one is to potentially move abroad in the next couple of years as well. I've thought a lot about, wanting to move out of the United States for personal reasons. Number one, it's really stressful to live in the United States and so much drama going on, and the work environment. I think people are stressed out and they're burned out at work. And trust me, I've been through that situation before, and I still struggle with it in my current job. But also, it's getting expensive to live in America. Cost of living is going up. Inflation is still a problem, and you have a system or a government that is not working well for the people, and they keep screwing them over. It's a shame that we have to have a gun stuck to our heads, telling us to either pay our taxes or else. But that's the nature of how American society is, and this is how our government works, and you just got to live with it. But maybe there are other places that I could go to that will respect me. I still have to pay taxes and so forth, but I think there are other places around the world where not only is the cost of living cheaper, but also you get better healthcare, and it's just probably much better than living in America. Now, that's not to say that I'm a hate America or anti-America type person. Of course not. I am a, what do you want to call it? I'm a native-born American. I was born and I grew up in the Midwest portion of the United States. I love the original meaning of being an American, how our country was founded, and I really love the revolution, 1776. All that is great, but our country where we stand at today is far the from the original founding of what our country should be. I mean, we're far from it, and it is unfortunate, but I don't think that's going to change anytime soon with the with how the system is structured and with the all the incompetent people who work in the government, and the power hungry politicians that work in Congress. So there's just a lot of bad people who are working inside the government and who work in Washington D.C. just feeding off our hard-earned dollars and you know abusing our freedoms. But hey, it's not meant to be political, but that's what I think of it. And me as an individual, I can't change that. So if I'm not happy being here, the saying goes, you either be happy or you get out. And there's probably going to be a point in time where I'm going to want to move out of the United States to move somewhere else where I can be happy. So that remains to be determined. And if I do end up going down that route, I will sure uh, be updating you on it. And maybe I'll create some great content on it. And then finally, the fifth one that I want to accomplish, and the more important one, is to achieve financial freedom in the next 5 years. Now, by that, what I mean is, and this is what I wrote in my letter today, is that 5 years from now, I want to give myself a hard deadline where come August 12th, 2031, I will have either already achieved financial freedom, or I am about to semi retire today, or by that date, because hey, I could have a worst case scenario where maybe I'm not quite there yet, but 5 years from now, I want to be very close to achieving financial freedom. I'd like to have my target date as August 12th, 2031, because that happens to be the day before my 40th birthday. And if I don't hit it by that date, then I am targeting that I hit financial freedom by the time I reach 40 and right before I hit 41. So I'm looking at 5 to 6 years. 5 years is the goal. I'd love it for it to be sooner. But hey, you know, sometimes it might have to take a little longer. And I'm willing to give myself more cushion and to be more conservative in my numbers, and that, hey, I might have to push it out maybe 7 to 8 years. Now, can I do it in a little less than under a decade? Oh, yeah. I am more confident than ever that I will reach financial freedom, most certainly by the time before I hit 45. But ultimately, I want to hit it by 40 because to be financially free by the time I hit 40 is would be remarkable. I would have loved to have done it sooner, but to do it by 40, to shave off 25 plus years of having to work and be miserable and to suffer, I mean, would be amazing. And I'm willing to make sacrifices the next 5 years to hit that semi retirement date because being free financially and also to be independent as well, the ability to, you know, opt out of what I call the drama of society, to opt out of all the craziness that's going on around the world, or to opt out of inflation, or to not surrender to people who don't respect my freedom or don't respect my decisions to live freely. To be able to opt out of that and have confidence with it, now that means a lot to me. My intention is to be a free man, and also with that, when I say summer retirement, I want to be able to do things that I enjoy doing and without having to worry about money, without having to suffer. Because the last thing I want to do is to be in a situation where I am I'm broke, I am hopeless, and I end up in a poverty situation where I'm on the streets. Now, the chances of that happening, I mean, sure, it's possible, but I want to do the best I can to put myself in the best situation to not be in poverty and not have to uh, be reliant or be a victim of the government. I want to be able to, in the next 5 years, to hit financial freedom. So that way I'm not reliable or dependent on anyone. I don't want to be dependent on the government. I don't want to be dependent on my family. Instead, I want my family to be dependent on me. And whether that is my parents, because when I hit my 40s and 50s, they're going to get a lot older, and I may have a situation, or could come a time where they need assistance. Or should I choose to be in a relationship and I have children, I want to be able to provide for them, and I want to be able to have put them on the right path to financial freedom themselves early on. Because I don't want them to go through the struggles that I've had in my 20s and 30s. The sooner that they start, to get them to learn personal finance, to learn financial education, and to be able to start building wealth at an early age. So that way they are wealthy and they can make better decisions for themselves and have that confidence when they turn 18 years old. And that way they can live lives where they're doing well and they can do things that matter to them. So this is all looking out ahead, but achieving financial freedom in the next 5 years is definitely possible. And how I go about my life in the next 5 years, if I have to make sacrifices or make decisions that may not be pleasant today, then I'll do it. You know, there is a saying, and I have to give credit to one person who I listened to a while ago, but you have two choices about where you want to go in life. So if you had to make the decision today, it could be one or the other. The first one is you can make life easy now and hard later, or you can make life hard now but easy later. And I'm telling you, as I've gone through my years of adulthood, I feel like there have been times where I've gone down the easy route and all of a sudden it just gets harder. And I think for far too long, I've chosen to take the easier path first and make life harder now. So now I have to pay through the consequences. So these next couple years, until I'm in a better position financially, or and I've achieved financial freedom, I'd rather choose to live, make. I'd rather life would be much harder now, but easy later. So yes, today I will accept to live a much harder life in exchange for a much easier life in 3 to 5 years. Because I'll take that any day. Because I'd rather life would be much easier when I get older. Because if you go the opposite route where you choose the easy route, but then life gets harder when you get older, especially when you hit your elderly years and you're struggling, then that can be troubling. And at that point, you will wish that you had made the hard decisions much early on. But like I said, you can either choose to have an easy life now, but it could be harder later, or you can live you can make the choice to live a harder life today, but easier later. And I'd rather go with the second one. Anyway, I know there's a lot that I packed in this video, and I can't believe I'm going close to 25 minutes now with kind of a nasally voice. But I'm actually feeling much better today, and there was a reason behind doing this video because I know that this video, doing it, is not just for myself, but I also want to help that person, and whether that's you, to kind of really get a better understanding of where you want to go to in life and what you can, what your true potential is. So that's all I got for today. If you enjoyed this video and you got a lot out of it, feel free to hit me up in the comments section below if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts. And if you really enjoyed it, then I encourage you to sign up for my email list where I do a lot more deep dive into these topics. And I also have a little community as well if you want to support that and go from there. No pressures, but if you really enjoyed today's video, be sure to hop on my email list and we can start building a little closer community like type of environments. So that's all I got. And until next time, peace.